In this video, we are talking about the one detailing trick that will turn $150 into $1,800 with one single customer. Now, just to give you guys some context, what you see me doing is the exterior of the newest maintenance client I have in 2020. And generally speaking, I am not taking any new maintenance clients, but when I find the right person and they persist at the right level, I always take them on and make room in my schedule. Now, guys, what we're talking about in this video is fundamentally how to turn a one-time, one-off paying customer in the detailing world and in your detailing business into a customer that pays you over and over and over again every single month so that they turn into not only an immediate payment, an immediate deposit into your bank account, but your customers begin to represent future deposits in your bank account as well. This is the number one key to building an unbelievably successful auto detailing business. Now, for those of you who don't know, I actually launched a program that I worked on literally all year in 2020 with an international team, and we put together something absolutely unbelievable that teaches you how to build a detailing business that makes anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a month through what we call regular details maintenance clients. So if you want to learn how to do this, the program is actually closed right now, and we don't know when we're going to be opening it in the future, but if you want to get in when we open it in the future, make sure to go below in the YouTube description box and enter your email into the waiting list, because we're going to send an email out to the waiting list when we decide to open it. Again, we don't have a date of when it's going to be open, but if you want to be notified, put your email in below in the YouTube description box. Now, let me get in right now to the number one strategy that is going to help you convert one-time customers into customers who pay you for your detailing services over and over again. And let me preface it with a bit of a concept that if you're a detailer, you're going to understand at a really high level. In detailing, it's very accurate and appropriate to say something like this. Most of the work is done on the front end, and the detailing is done on the back end. What I mean is, and to make it more specific so we can illustrate what this concept means at a bit higher level, is if we take a ceramic coating, most of the work is done on the front end. We wash, we clay, we decontaminate chemically, we paint prep, we paint correct, we paint prep again, and then at the final last stage, truly the detailing is done. Now, I understand all of that is detailing, and paint correction is certainly detailing, all that stuff, but you get the point I'm making. Most of the work is done on the front end, and the detailing, or the work that really gets highlighted, the stuff that's really on your mind, is done on the back end. So this concept is what I want to walk into this conversation with, because it's very, very powerful in what I'm about to talk to you about. So in many ways, the question comes in, okay, Luke, how do I take customers and turn them into maintenance clients? Well, in the same way that generally speaking in detailing, the work is done on the front end in order to do what you want on the back end, this is the same with customers regarding converting one-time customers or disposable customers into customers that are not disposable who pay you over and over again. We do the work on the front end. So let me explain to you what happened with this particular customer that built so much trust. And fundamentally, this conversation is around trust, because what we're selling to the customer is, if you trust me to perform this work on a regular basis, not only will you have expectations that are fulfilled, you'll have money that's been well spent, you'll have a pleasant experience. We're building trust, we're building expertise. And once again, this is done in the pre-detail conversations, the detail conversations, and the post-detail conversations. One of the things that I did specifically with this customer, who is now a maintenance client, one of my newer maintenance clients in 2020, is over time, as you continue to increase your skill in physically detailing, you also increase your detailing eye, which might also just be called your ability to notice things that other people do not notice. In fact, you might be able to notice things that your customer is surprised that you notice. So let me explain. When I finished this particular detail, I always call my customers and have a post-detail conversation, and this is the way this particular post-detail conversation went. I'm driving home, and we're on the phone, and I said, "Hey, customer, I always like to over communicate at a certain level after the detail is done. And a lot of this stuff is probably going to be things that you're not interested in, but I take inventory of sorts on certain conditions and certain imperfections and things that I see as I'm detailing that I always like to make you aware of. So do you have like 3 minutes where I can jump into some of this stuff? And he said, absolutely, go ahead. And I said, the first main thing that is not a concern and you'll probably not care about, but the first main thing that's the most obvious is the front right passenger wheel on the inner barrel has a fair amount of brake dust that has corroded into the inner barrel of the wheel and into the metal. So it's not going to be able to be taken care of unless the wheel is actually removed off of the car and we address it at a much higher level. The reason I'm addressing this is because it's interesting. The other 3 AMG wheels that are on this Mercedes have brake dust that, yes, was fairly heavy on the interior, which is characteristic with the brake pad that's used on these particular wheels. It's actually very common. But that brake dust on all of the other 3 wheels was removed very, very simply. So I just thought it interesting, and it would tell me that you might have had some work done to this particular wheel, and they actually put a material or a substance or a coating on the inner barrel of the wheel when they did the repair that no longer matches the traditional clear coat that's on the other sort of factory wheels on the car. Is that correct? And he said, yeah, that's actually what happened. Is I got the wheel repaired because I think a valet took my car and we got some curb rash on the wheel, and I wanted to get it fixed. So that's probably why that particular one reacts differently. That was the first part of the conversation, that this kind of thing really impresses customers, because the customer is not thinking, because they don't understand the nature of detailing, they're not thinking about the fact that that wheel was repaired or that could affect anything. So the fact that I took the detailing situation, made it make sense and said, here's what's happening, here's what I did, here's why it didn't work on this wheel, it leads me to think this. Am I correct? You instantly gain so much authority, so much expertise in the customer's mind, because you're not only educating them, but you're actually addressing something in a way that proves you really know what you're talking about. Now, moving on from that, I explained to him, the reason this is going to be of importance to you is not because it's going to affect the way the car drives. It's not going to affect any mechanics or inner workings of the vehicle. It's simply a visual appeal, a visual aspect. If you get really detailed and you look in the inner barrel of the front right passenger wheel, you will see a sort of spottiness and what might look as almost like rust or like a copper shavings. The reason is because this particular brake dust is going to sit there. It's corroded into the wheel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Moving on from that, I said the other thing that's interesting is that on the back driver's side window, there are some scratches on the exterior part of the glass. Now, once again, I'm saying all of these things as I'm driving home on the phone with him. So there's a certain level of just customers being impressed that you can take inventory of all of these things and remember all of these things. It makes them feel confident in your detailing ability, hence the word, right? Oh, wow, he noticed that too. And that's exactly what my customer said. He actually finished my sentence. When I said on the back driver's side window, he finished it and said, yeah, there's a couple scratches. And I said, yes, exactly. In fact, I did a fingernail test, and these scratches are actually fairly deep into the glass itself. This is something that's not a detailing issue. It's a repair issue, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. He was like, yeah, absolutely. I can't believe you noticed that. Totally. Then I move on. Below that, I believe on the same exact door, customer, there was a tiny little chip, almost where it looks like somebody opened their door and tapped your back driver's side door. And he said, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Right when I got the car, no matter how careful I am where I park in the parking lot, this guy actually did it, and it was like a hit and run. He just dinged it and didn't let me know and didn't leave me a note or anything like that. And he's like, man, you can't trust people in parking lots no matter where you park. And we had this little conversation about it. The point being was, it led me into the conversation of, no matter how new the car is and no matter how good care of it you take, this is something that's always going to happen with a car that you drive on a daily basis, yada, yada, yada. And then very lastly, he brought up and he said, Luke, now that you're naming all of this stuff, did you notice the stain on the leather seat? And I finished his sentence and said, oh yeah, the stain on the passenger side seat in the far back right corner on the bottom portion of the seat that looks like a light bulb. And he said, yeah, exactly. And I said, yes, okay, that was the only stain on the leather that couldn't come out. Every other stain or every other blue jean mark or every other scuff came out perfectly, but this one was chemically cleaned, steam cleaned, and if I were to continue, I would have damaged it. This is why I stop at this particular point. Here's the nature of what this looks like. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It leads us into this whole other conversation. Now, what's the point of me breaking down exactly how this conversation went with the customer? It's the fact that this simple 5-minute conversation so nailed down in my customer's mind that I am the authority on these detailing issues. I know what I'm talking about. I can not only notice these things, but actually save them away in my memory, bring them up with the initiative and confidence, bringing them up with my customer post detail to say, hey, I always like to run through some things that I took inventory of so you're aware of the nature of your car, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This builds so much expertise that the customer is convinced that you are the detailer of detailers. And once again, this isn't some sort of arrogant or prideful thing. This is something that is absolutely in your customer's best interest. But just understand, many ways I've found that detailers that I've trained are actually kind of afraid or hesitant to kind of bring things up to customers and take initiative with these kind of conversations because they feel like they're going to bring something up that the customer thinks is their fault, or they're going to bring something up that they're not going to have an answer for, or something along those lines. And it's the exact opposite that actually ends up happening. When you treat your customer in the way of saying, hey, I want you to know what I know and see what I see, and you probably don't care about this kind of stuff, but just so you're aware, here's the nature of the beast when it comes to your vehicle. This one thing, this one conversation will convince the customer that you absolutely are the only detailer they can go with. It's the perfect segue, by the way, into the maintenance detailing conversation. This is how it works. We can look at it as a funnel of sorts. We can't just spew out maintenance detailing to any customer, anytime, anywhere. It has to be something that we lead up to in a very strategic way, that we speak in conversation about and hint at in a very strategic way. And this is the perfect tip of that funnel, simply because this conversation naturally leads into the nature of maintaining a vehicle like this to ensure that these sort of natural damage things that occur with a daily driver car, even if it's nice like this Mercedes and nice and new, don't happen at any high level. In fact, you can see in the scene right here, I'm touching the scratches on this window that I was just talking about bringing up with the customer, doing a few fingernail tests to make sure that they were what I thought they were. So my point is, this is something you develop over time. This is something you get better at over time. However, with all that being said, it is one of the easiest ways to turn one-time paying customers into paying customers again and again. For example, this particular vehicle was the first time that I actually saw this vehicle. It is now on a maintenance plan, but this was the first time I saw it. And even on the maintenance plan at $150 a month, let's say that particular number, $150 a month, this has turned a $150 customer into an $1,800 customer. So thinking about expanding that way, expanding exponentially in that way, building a customer base of 60, 75 customers like this that you've turned into $1,800 a year, $150 a month, you can see how you can actually create a detailing business that does far more than $2,000 to $5,000 a month. In fact, you can get into the six-figure range. And for young guys, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, this is such a viable way to do this. So for those of you wondering the products that I used in this video, go below in the YouTube description box. They'll be linked up down there. If you want to join the waiting list, enter your email below at that link so you'll get notified when I do launch the program again. If you guys like content and business auto detailing content like this, hit the subscribe button. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, I will see you guys in the next video.